Hello friends, thanks for watching the video series. We hope that you got a good understanding regarding HTML, CSS and JavaScript from the last video. You can check the playlist if you missed the video. Kindly subscribe the channel for new videos. Also provide us with your feedback in the comment section. In this video, we will cover regarding the C# basics. Also we will look into .NET and the IDE we are opting is Visual Studio. So we will go through the Visual Studio versions and also help you to install Visual Studio. Let's start our session. It's very important that you all know about C# and how it works because we are going to learn C# in depth. If you are finding it very difficult to understand what all we are going to explain regarding C#, .NET and all those things, don't worry. We will detail all these topics when we get into the coding part, but I hope that it will be very easier for you to understand. We will simplify it and we will only look into the things which are very essential for our learning. As you all know, C# is the programming language from Microsoft. You all know that the machine will only understand ones and zeros. So whatever language we use is for our understanding, but the machine won't understand it, right? So C#, Java, Python or whichever language it is, we have to get it converted into the way operating system or the machine can understand. So how we will do that? We will have something called compiler. So from C#, the code will get compiled to something called MSIL or CIL. MSIL means Microsoft Intermediate Language, or otherwise it is also called as Common Intermediate Language. At this point, it will get converted into a format called .dll or exe. So what happens? Our code will get compiled by the C# compiler to MSIL or CIL. That is the first thing. Then it will get again compiled by JIT, just-in-time compiler to machine code. Then our operating system can interpret this code and can run the test which we are triggering. Okay, so this is the basic that you should understand. And why it is done in two different parts, you might be thinking like why we can't directly convert it into machine code. The answer is that it is to support the interoperability between different languages. That means you can also use VB.NET or F# for your scripting purpose. So there may be different developers available or testers available. They may be working in different languages. So what happens if you want to use a code being developed by a VB.NET developer? You have to convert it into C# and use it. But using MSIL and CIL, you can avoid it. You can refer this code as .dll in your code and straight away you can use it. During runtime, JIT will convert it into machine language. Okay, that's why it is done in two different ways. You don't have to bother much about all those things, but simply understand that there is a compilation process that is happening in order to convert the language that we understand to the way machine understand. It has to be compiled. So the next point you have to understand is regarding .NET. So it's for application development from Microsoft. It includes library as well as runtime environment. So we don't have to understand in deeper regarding .NET at this point of time, but you should understand what it means. Whenever we try to develop something, okay, or we try to write a test script from our end, there are different things that we have to be in place. We have to reuse many features, right? We can't start from the scratch. So .NET helps us to create a base for that. For example, we can see that whenever the output is printed, we can see it on the screen and we can provide with some inputs to the program. All those things we don't have to write everything from the scratch, right? We should have some ready-made codes and functions available for that. So .NET comes along with a structure, a framework that will fit for our job. So whenever we are having a structure or framework in place, what happens? We will get restricted. Also, we will get some advantages. So the advantages we are getting is that we can reuse many things, especially many features and the way the program works. And the disadvantage is that it has certain rules and regulations which we have to follow in order to adopt it. Okay, so .NET is the base where we are going to build our application. So .NET is like a structure. So if you have to build something, so suppose if you have to develop a human being, what happens? We should have a skeleton in place, right? On top of the skeleton, we will develop each and everything. We will put some organs, we will have muscles in place, we will have bones in place. All those things we will add on top of it. But this structure will help us to create it in a easier manner, right? So this is what .NET is. So understand such a way that .NET is a framework which helps us to establish our program such that we can reuse many features of it and it creates a boundary as well as it create a structure for us. Okay, and now there are different .NET versions available like .NET Framework, .NET Standard, .NET Core. So while we create a program, you will come across all those things. We can see that the project we are going to create will be based on any of this. .NET Framework and .NET Core are implementations, and .NET Standard is a specification. We can get into all those things later on, but for the time being, understand that we will use .NET Framework whenever we have to develop only in the Windows platform. So if our focus is only to run our scripts in the Windows platform, we can go ahead with .NET Framework. But if we have idea to run it in cross-platform, maybe in a Mac machine or in a Linux-based machine, we have to go ahead with .NET Core. There are also many other things that differentiate between all of this, but at this point of time, you only need to understand this differentiation between each one of this. Now I believe that you got an understanding regarding C# as well as .NET. Next point is regarding IDE, Integrated Development Environment. Just think how we can now bring all these things in place. First of all, we need C#. We have to write the way we understand, right? There is some rules and regulations which we have to follow, and we have to write the programming language. So for the same, we should have some code editor in place. Notepad is an example. We can have Notepad or Notepad++ or Sublime Text or something in place in order to write our code. Now, once after writing the code, we should have something to compile our code. We can go and use command lines. We can use Microsoft packages in order to compile our code. Then we have to run our code. In order to run our code, we can use .NET. It will help us to run our code as well. Now, how do we do all those things? We can't go and do all of these things in bit and pieces. If there is something that can do all those things for us, then that is an IDE, Integrated Development Environment. There are different IDEs available in the market like Visual Studio, Eclipse, NetBeans, IntelliJ IDEA, Android Studio, etc. Among this, for our training purpose, we will be going to use Visual Studio. Mostly for Java, we will be using Eclipse and others. And when we have to do Android development, we will use Android Studio. So friends, we can get into Visual Studio, we can install it. So in order to install it, we have to navigate to Microsoft website. I will provide the link for downloading Visual Studio in the description. Let's now look into the browser. I have the browser window now opened. I'm going to the Visual Studio downloads page. This is the page we are navigated to, Microsoft page we are navigated to. And you can see different versions available here. Visual Studio 2019 is the latest version, and it comes with Community, Professional and Enterprise editions. Community version is free of cost. It can be used by students, contributors and individuals like us. And the Professional and Enterprise, you have to pay license fees for that. Professional is suitable for small teams, and Enterprise is useful for big corporate enterprises. Community edition is not for enterprise usage. One thing I would like to highlight regarding Community edition is that after 1 month, it will show that your trial got expired. Because Microsoft provides you with an open license, you have to activate that license. So in order to activate that license, the prerequisite is that you should have a Microsoft account. You can create a free Microsoft account using Outlook, and you can use the same account to activate Visual Studio after 1 month. One more thing I would like to highlight is regarding Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is an editor like our Notepad, but it contains more features which can even make it more capable like a Visual Studio. We can add packages into it, and we can have many features of Visual Studio being used in Visual Studio Code as well. Then Visual Studio for Mac is the version which is available for Mac users. You can download it and use it in a Mac environment. If you go down, you can see older versions of Visual Studio available. You can check out that as well if you require that. You can see the older version. So now we are going to download the community version, which is free of cost to use. So I'm downloading it. You can see that the community version got downloaded now. You can click on that. Visual Studio installer will start. The Visual Studio installer got downloaded, and it is now unpacking and installing it. Even though it is showing that everything is done, it is not the case. We have to download more components. So one prerequisite that I would like to highlight is like you should have good internet with good data package available. Otherwise you will get into trouble because the Visual Studio size is much higher, and also the network strength should be good. So this is the page available in order to install the components. You can either go with individual components and download and install each one of them. But for easiness, I am going to opt for .NET Desktop Development. You can see that some components got already selected. We can uncheck whichever we don't need. Okay, I unchecked a couple of them. At any point of time, we can come back and we can have this individual component components installed. Okay, now you can see that 4.26 GB is the size of the package. So this size has to be downloaded and installed in your machine. But this is a one-time activity. So I'm clicking on the install button. It will take some time based on the speed of your network. Now the Visual Studio is successfully installed. Have different options available. You can create a new project from here. Also you can continue without code. So for the time being I am going to continue without the code. So you can see that Visual Studio 2019 got opened up. So if you click on about Microsoft Visual Studio from the help, you can see that license. You can click here and see the license status. So you can sign in here to enable this license. You can see here that the license is for 30-day trial and for evaluation purpose only, and it will show when it will end. You can like straight away sign in here using your Microsoft account, or you can just do it after 30 days as well. If you have missed to install any components that I have mentioned earlier, you can come to tools and you can click on get tools and features, and it will show the same page that we have shown before. You can check whichever components you already checked here, and you can install it. You can go to individual components and do that, or you can even do it from here. You can check this and you can install it. We have now successfully installed Visual Studio. Congratulations. And we have to now start our scripting. So that's all what we thought of covering in this video. In the next video we will start learning about Selenium. So after giving an introduction to Selenium, we will start creating our first project. And as I said before, our plan is to learn C# as well as Selenium together. Thank you very much for watching the video. Kindly subscribe for more videos. And if you like the video, please click on the like button. Thanks for watching.